own or in concert with members of another group. Law enforcement has been very successful in infiltrating a number of these groups, thereby keeping abreast of their plans for action. The KKK also draws the attention of many watchdog groups, and the Southern Poverty Law Center produces a quarterly publication entitled Clan Watch. It would be difficult for any of the known KKK groups to participate in millennial violence without law enforcement knowing. 23 U.S. Moles Church Pro, Ties to Killings Investigated, Chicago Tribune, July 9, 1999. 24 Behind the Hate, The Washington Post, July 6, 1999. 19 Again, there is a great deal of movement that is possible throughout the right wing, regardless of prior belief. If a member of a Christian identity faction does not feel that his current group is taking enough violent action, it is possible for that member to move on to other ideologies or organizations such as Odinism, the World Church of the Creator WCOTC, or the National Socialist Movement. Because of this movement, it is also likely that communication exists between various factions of the right wing, from religious groups to skinheads. Their end goals are similar. The WCOTC presents a recent example of violence perpetrated by a white supremacist in order to bring about a race war. The major creed upon which Ben Clarson founded the religion is that one's race is his religion. Aside from this central belief, its ideology is similar to many Christian identity groups in the conviction that there is a Jewish conspiracy in control of the federal government, international banking, and the media.
And yet the Talmud says that all non-Jews are non-human, or cattle, filthy beasts, and must be killed.
There was a dramatic increase in membership due to the growing belief in the apocalypse and that RAHOWA was imminent. In 1996, Matt Hale, who has come upon recent fame by being denied a license to practice law in Illinois, was appointed the new leader of the Church of the Creator. Hale made a number of changes to the group, including changing the name of the organization to the World Church of the Creator, giving it the feel of a widespread movement. As publicly reported, there is information to indicate that the WCOTC has violent plans for the millennium. Officials who searched Benjamin Smith's apartment, the man who went on a racially motivated killing spree over the 4th of July weekend, found a loose leaf binder of handwriting. These writings described a holy war among the races and included a reference to the new millennium. Passages included plans of how white supremacists would shoot at non-whites from motor vehicles after the dawning of the new millennium.
Albert Pike,
23 While the group's rhetoric does include the belief in a race war and the creation of an all-white bastion within the United States, other than Smith's writings, there is no indication that it is linked to the millennium. In addition, there have been recent incidents that have demonstrated the willingness of members to take part in violent action. WCOTC members in southern Florida are thought to be tied to several racially motivated beatings. Within the last year, 4 Florida members were convicted for the pistol whipping and robbery of a Jewish video store owner. They were supposedly trying to raise money for the revolution. 24 Finally, Odinism is another white supremacist ideology that lends itself to violence and has the potential to inspire its followers to violence in connection to the millennium. What makes 20 Odinists dangerous is the fact that many believe in the necessity of becoming martyrs for their cause. For example,
Odinism is nothing of the kind.
In a fiery confrontation with law enforcement. Also, William King relished the fact that he would receive the death penalty for his act of dragging James Byrd Jr. to his death. Odinism has little to do with Christian identity, but there is one key similarity. Odinism provides dualism, as does Christian identity with regard to the universe being made up of worlds of light white people and worlds of dark non-white people.
And it's Israel that declared themselves the Jewish state.
Do not believe in Jesus Christ. However, there are enough similarities,
and all non-Jews do not have equal rights.
Of Christian identity to make a smooth transition
And
from
they openly call
to Odinism for those
black folks the N-word in public.
Violence is not being satisfied. 25 Van Housen lost re-election as commander of the MMCW in late 1997 to the more radical Joe Pilchak. 26 C. Militias initiating contact FBI law enforcement bulletin.
And now we have 80% of Congress and the Senate
2226
dual Israeli citizens.
Militias. The majority of growth within the militia movement occurred during the 1990s. There is not a simple definition of how a group qualifies as a militia. However, the following
Constitution defines them.
used in as a guideline, 1. A militia is a domestic organization with 2 or more members, 2. The organization must possess and use firearms, and 3. The organization must conduct or encourage paramilitary training. Other terms used to describe militias are patriots and Minutemen. Most militias engage in a variety of anti-government rhetoric. This discourse can range from the protesting of government policies to the advocating of violence and/or the overthrow of the federal government.
Anti-government is the U.S. Constitution, Bill of Rights, anti-government.
Actually commit acts of violence to advance their political goals and beliefs. A number of militia leaders, such as Lynn Van Housen of the Michigan
Remember, it was the Jews
have gone to some effort to actively
who voted in slavery when George Washington already established anti-slavery laws and killed 99 million black folks.
Categories ranging from moderate groups who do not engage in criminal activity to radical cells which commit violent acts of terrorism. 26. It should be clearly stated that the FBI only focuses on radical elements of the militia movement capable and willing to commit violence against government, law enforcement, civilians, military and international targets. In addition, any such investigation of these radical militia units must be conducted within strict legal parameters. Militia anxiety and paranoia, specifically relating to the year 2000, are based mainly on a political ideology, as opposed to religious beliefs. Many militia members believe that the year 2000 will lead to political and personal repression enforced by the United Nations and countenanced by a compliant U.S. government.
And yet we saw that happening, and continue to see it happening.
Conspiracy Theories, see Chapter 1, Introduction. Other issues which have served as motivating factors for the militia movement include gun control, the incidents at Ruby Ridge 1992 and Waco 1993, the Montana Freemen standoff 1996, and the restriction of land use by federal agencies.
Federal agents massacring
NWO conspiracy theory
American
that the
citizens.
use of American military bases by the UN is worth exploring in further detail. Law enforcement officers, as well as military personnel, should be aware that the nation's armed forces have been the subject of a great deal of rumor and paranoia circulating among many militia groups. One can find numerous references in militia literature to military bases to be used as concentration camps in the NWO and visiting foreign military personnel conspiring to attack Americans. One example of this can be 27 accessed at www.eagles.com, 22 found on the website for the militia group United States Theater Command USTC. 27 The USTC website prominently features the NWO theory as it portrays both Camp Grayling in Michigan and Fort Dix in New Jersey as detention centers to be used to house prisoners in an upcoming war. Specifically in reference to a photograph of Camp Grayling, the USTC website states, "Note that the barbed wire is configured to keep people in, not out, and also note in the middle of the guard towers, a platform for the mounting of a machine gun." Specifically in reference to a photograph of Fort Dix, the USTC website states, "Actual photos of an enemy prisoner of war camp in the United States of America, Fort Dix, New Jersey to be exact. If they're going to be a war here, many more are suspected to be scattered throughout the United States." Law enforcement personnel should be aware of the fact
800 FEMA camps.
Militias are reactive as opposed to proactive.
800.
Reactive militia groups are generally not
Why are they
law
there?
enforcement or the public.
We all know why.
Militias may indeed believe that some type of NWO scenario may be imminent in the year 2000, but they are more inclined to sit back and wait for it to happen. They will stockpile their guns and ammunition and food, and wait for the government to curtail their liberties and take away their guns. When the expected NWO tragedy does not take place, these reactive militias will simply continue their current activities, most of which are relatively harmless. They will not overreact to minor disruptions of electricity, water and other public services. However, there is a small percentage of the militia movement which may be more proactive and commit acts of domestic terrorism. As stated earlier, the main focus of the militias connected to the Y2K millennium revolves around the NWO conspiracy theory. While the NWO is a paranoid theory, there may be some real technological problems arising from the year 2000. Among these are malfunctioning computers, which control so
And yet governments and the elite speak of the NWO and how we're going to have one world religion and one world government.
These may be
19 years
by
after
some of the militias that
this is written.
is being shut off on purpose in order to create an environment of confusion.
And that's happening now.
Paranoid rationalizations of these militia groups, this atmosphere of confusion can only be a prelude to the dreaded NWO One World Government. These groups may then follow through on their premeditated plans of action. 28 Seafall 1997 edition of the Southern Poverty Law Center's Intelligence Report, Rough Waters, Stream of Knowledge Probe by Officials. 23 VI, Black Hebrew Israelites. As the millennium approaches, radical fringe members of the Black Hebrew Israelite BHI movement may pose a challenge for law enforcement. As with the adherents of most apocalyptic philosophies, certain segments of the BHI movement have the potential to engage in violence at the turn of the century. This movement has been associated with extreme acts of violence in the recent past, and current intelligence from a variety of sources indicates that extreme factors.
They're so violent they sit on the street reading the Bible. I guess that's what they call violence.
BHI followers can generally be described as proponents of an extreme form of black supremacy. Drawing upon the teachings of earlier BHI adherents, such groups hold that blacks represent God as true chosen people, while condemning whites as incarnate manifestations of evil. As goddess authentic Jews, BHI adherents believe that mainstream Jews are actually imposters. Such beliefs bear a striking resemblance to the Christian identity theology practiced by many white supremacists.
How nicely like to group everybody together.
White supremacists once remarked they read the black counterpart of us. 28 like their Christian identity counterparts.
Criminalizing what blacks and whites do, mixing their ideologies together.
As a result, some followers of this belief system hold
and the SPLC
murder is justifiable in the eyes of God, provided that it helps
claims them as terrorists, and the FBI follows. Now, after that isn't Jew takeover, I don't know what is.
The inevitability of a race war between blacks and whites. The extreme elements of the BHI movement are prone to engage in violent activity. As seen in previous convictions of BHI followers, adherents of this philosophy have a proven history of violence, and several indications point toward a continuation of this trend. Some BHI followers have been observed in public donning primarily black clothing, with emblems and/or patches bearing the Star of David symbol. Some BHI members practice paramilitary
which the Jews find appalling and insulting because they're black.
Criminal records for a variety of violations, including weapons charges, assault, drug trafficking, and fraud. In law enforcement circles, BHI groups are typically associated with violence and criminal activity, largely as a result of the movement's popularization by Yahweh Ben Yahweh, formerly known as Hulon Mitchell Jr., and the Miami-based nation of Yahweh Noi. In reality, the origins of the BHI movement are non-violent. While the BHI belief system may have roots in the United States as far back as the Civil War era, the movement became more recognized as a result of the teachings of an individual known as Ben Ami Ben Israel, aka Ben Carter, from the south side of Chicago. Ben Israel claims to have had a vision at the age of 27, hearing a voice tell me that the time had come for Africans in America, the descendants of the biblical Israelites, to 29 Linda Jones. Claiming a promised land, African American settlers in Israel are guided by idea of independent Black Hebrew society. The Dallas Morning News, July 27, 1997. 30 Ibid. 31 Seafall 1997 Southern Poverty Law Center's Intelligence Report, Rough Waters, Stream of Knowledge Probe by Officials. 32 Jones, Dallas Morning News, July 27, 1997. 33 Ibid. 34 Ibid. In fact, in the community of Dimona where the BHI community resides, the Dimona police chief spoke in complimentary terms as to the group's discipline, leadership, and integrity. 24 Returned to the land of our forefathers. 29 Ben Israel persuaded a group of African Americans to accompany him to Israel in 1967, teaching that African Americans descended from the biblical tribe of Judah and therefore, that Israel is the land of their birthright. Ben Israel and his followers initially settled in Liberia for the purposes of cleansing themselves of bad habits. In 1969, a small group of BHI followers left Liberia for Israel, with Ben Israel and the remaining original migrants arriving in Israel the following year. Public source estimates of the BHI community in Israel number between 1,500 and 3,000. 30 Despite promoting non-violence, members of Ben Israel's movement have shown a willingness to engage in criminal activity. 31 BHI in Israel is generally